Raise your hand if you feel welcome. I'm just curious. Okay. Those of you who didn't raise your hand, you're not awake yet, huh? I don't think if the energy got much higher, some of y'all would explode. What a great day. Your soul is welcome here because your soul has a purpose. Amen? Your soul has a purpose, and we're here about that today. Every single Sunday, our messages are about your soul and its purpose on the planet. That's so amazing. I've never been a place that I knew when I walked in I would receive love, that I knew I would receive support, that I knew would say, you're a soul, you're not your role. Every Sunday, that's what we're saying in one form or another, that you're the light and you can go be that light in the world. So sometimes, if you want to tell people about this, I want you to start like this. Say, I know a place. I know a place. I know a place. I don't call it a church. Don't call it a spiritual center. Try to explain all it is and what we think about everything. Just say, I know a place. I know a place where my soul's welcome. Do you want to come? My soul is welcome here. That's what we want you to know. Everybody to know their soul is welcome here. Today we're about embodying your soul and your soul's truth. We're in our third week of a series called Called to Be, and it's really calling me to be more, and I think for each one of us, it's calling us higher from a higher way of being and living. And our first week was called The Call. And we looked at the story, remember, of Jonah and how Jonah does just what we all do, right? What did Jonah do? Remember, he what? He ran. Jonah ran. We know. We say Jonah ran because I've been running, right? Jonah ran. That was the first week. And we also saw that a call and refusal of a call is just part of the spiritual journey, right? But then we get another chance at it, and that's the learning. That was week 2. Week 2 was about learning, and it was about looking at life's bumps in the road and what we've called our trials and tribulations, and then figuring out how are we going to handle those things. And we saw from Jonah that actually he held on to those feelings of resentments. In fact, tried to get God to curse the very people he was serving. Right? But what we learned is there's a higher way to be, another way to be. We've evolved. We've evolved past that way of being, that with justice, there's love and mercy also. So in our work, what we did last week is we said, let's try to release ourselves from the bonds of the past through intentional meditative work, where we consciously say, God, help us release those attachments that are unhealthy. Remember, we said these old resentments and these old angers that we're holding on to, they act like poison, right, against us. And what we want to do is release those so that then we can move forward into what we're supposed to be. And that's what today is about moving forward into that we're supposed to be. And it's a huge, huge learning to do that. Even Jesus had to tell the disciples, hey, when you go into a town, if they don't accept you, here's what I want you to do. Just shake that old sand out of your sandals and move on. Right? There's a deep metaphysical meaning to that. That seems like a little thing he told the disciples, but what he said is, don't even take that city with you. Right? You move on into your next home, the place that welcomes you, the place that sees who you are, the place that says, yes, we want the good news for us. Right? So that's what we're about today, is embodying the truth of our soul. Today is about embodying your highest self. Your highest self. In unity, we often call it the Christ, but what we're meaning is you are living from your soul, not from your place in life or your money in life or who you know, but that you want to begin to live from your soul, from your highest self. Will you say with me, today I live from my soul? Will you say that with me? Today I live from my soul. Today I live from my soul. In other words, from my highest true self. And many of us, we want to know how to do that, right? I say these lofty things, and sometimes they sound easy. They say, well, she just said live from my soul. And so, all right, let's go out and do that. And then we go out in life, and we do the same things we've done before, and we say, well, I heard it, and I knew what she meant at the time, but how do I change how do I work with my life to get in a way where I can live from my soul? And let me just say a word about, no one does it perfectly. I have not done it perfectly. There is no such thing as perfect on the spiritual journey, right? There's no such thing as doing it without pain. I mean, you know, we look at Jesus and say, oh, he was the Son of God, et cetera, et cetera. But Jesus died on a cross. We remember that, right? Right. There was pain engaged in the process. But then he also had a resurrection too, right? So we get that also. So how do we get from the pains of life. How do we get from the cross to the resurrection? What I'm describing is, after in the learning of life, when life happens, things come up and our pains and our wounds, rather than taking them with us, yes, we did the cutting of the cords last week, and yes, I talked about doing it every day for 7 days, 3 times a day. Remember I said that? Anybody do it? Okay, well, I'm going to make it easier for you to do it because so many people requested it. We put it on a CD. It's not available today, but will be this week. So you can get it on CD at the bookstore. It's only $5, just because it takes staff time to do it. But I hope you will join us in that. I don't know who would not want to do that, right? To just cut the cords of the past. Now, what we're doing when we do that, I want to say a word, because what we're doing when we do that, it's a what I call a psycho-spiritual process. You are changing the feeling tone of your life by doing that. And, you know, what created that up to that point took a long time to create, right? So it takes a little time also to undo that. So even though one exercise is wonderful, it takes many exercises to get a new idea in your consciousness. So what we do to really live from our soul's purpose, to really live from our truest self, what's the first thing that you think we might do? Yes. Prayer and meditation. Say with me, prayer and meditation. And why would this be true? It's true because when you are praying and meditating, you are putting yourself into contact with that energy, that thing, that God, that life that created everything that you see. It puts you in contact with the source of who you are and your very true nature. That's why. That's where we start. But so many people will say, well, I prayed about this. How come it doesn't just go away? I prayed once or twice and, you know, I'm still having problems in my relationships. Right? I say, right? Yeah? And I wonder how that got there. Let's look back. Let's think about how those problems got there. Well, there's some old thoughts you have about yourself that we haven't worked through yet. So sometimes many people, and I'm speaking to the adults in the room mostly, the kids have this, they're cool because we've raised our kids differently. Most of us grew up with children should be what? Seen but not what? Seen but not heard. So pretty much all of us have that kind of rolling around in our consciousness. Even if in our home it was particularly good, in general, that was the understanding. So if we grow up with that understanding, what we're taught is we don't have a right to a voice. We don't have a right to be. We don't have a right to speak our truth. You don't have a right to be powerful. You don't have a right to be good. You don't have a right to be a master. That's what we learn. You don't have a right to leave if somebody's hurting you. That's what we learn. So what we teach here is you have a right to your power. You have a right to leave when someone's hurting you. You are good. You are holy. You are loved. You are a soul. You are not your income. You are who you live as in the world. You are your highest self, and that's what we see. So to work with those thoughts, to begin to unravel those old ways of thinking is going to take a lot of work on your part. It doesn't happen with coming to church 1 or 2 times a year, even every Sunday. The 6 days a week between Sunday to Sunday is when your work is. And then I help you out on Sunday by celebrating all the work you've done all week. And we say, yay, you're so awesome. Your soul is welcome here. Let's bring peace to all the nations. And we are supporting all that work. But you're going to have to find new thoughts of empowerment for yourself. And the way each person does it is going to be different based on your path and your journey and your need. And start with prayer and meditation. And then from there, you ask for Spirit's guidance, direction, and how you seek out help and support. Maybe it's a prayer chaplain praying with you one-on-one. Maybe it's doing some therapeutic work. Maybe it's working with a coach. Anything that you decide to do In whatever direction you decide to go, if you apply these spiritual principles and seek help and support and work with your thoughts, your life will be a very different place from the place it is today. Very, very different. So we have to have new thoughts of empowerment, and in a few moments we're going to do a meditation about that. But I want you to really think of all the things you say about yourself right now and how you limit yourself. A classic one is, I'm not enough. I don't know how to do it. Or here's a great one. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not powerful enough. I'm not brave enough. Do any of these sound familiar? We all say them, and feel the energy of that. It's yuck, right? The energy. Now listen to this. I am good. I am loved. I am a soul. I am powerful. I am a master. I am great. I am supported. I am hope itself. See if you can breathe that in and now feel that energy. I want to tell you what the scriptures have to say about you. This is from the Gospel of Luke, and it starts in the 12th chapter. Many people are coming in and showing me their Bibles on the way in because they're so proud they brought them. And this is from Luke chapter 12, verse 48, starting 48b, which means the second part of the verse. It starts with the word from in my translation. So Luke 12:48b says, "From everyone to whom much has been given, much will be required. And from the one to whom much has been entrusted, even more will be demanded." Even more will be demanded. That's why we saw Jesus' journey as it was. That's why he had to go to the cross, and you don't. You don't have to be crucified. He already did that. That's not your role. What's your role? Your role is to die to the old so the new can be reborn. You're in an alchemical, transformative process right now as a soul. That's what's happening in our culture right now. That's what's happening in our culture right now. There's been energy up about civil rights, about rights for blacks and whites to be equal. It's about the ordination of the woman yesterday. That's up right now, right? There's transformation. There's something being asked of us, right? You're being asked to live from your truest, highest self. So we don't want to get dragged down by energies of the past, by negativities of the past, right? We want to move into our present in a good way, in a good, thoughtful, intentional way, which means you have to begin to start with prayer and meditation, and then working with your thoughts, and then those thoughts have picture into behaviors in the world. We want our life to end up being a total praise to God simply by our living it. Right? That you're not having to convince people you're spiritual. You're spiritual wherever you go. The feeling tone of your life has changed because of your spiritual work. And I tell you, I've seen so many people do so much great work. I used to always say, be negative about Facebook. But you know what? There's a lot of people now in our community, all they're putting out is positive posts. And other people are going on and getting support and information. I'm going to have one of our members come up in a minute, talk about his process that he's been doing. And he posts every morning, and it's inspired so many people, right? That's changing the whole energy and feeling tone of your life by your spiritual work. And I want to tell you about a friend of mine. He's from my church back in Kansas City. And he was in one of my classes, my prayer and meditation classes. And I never expected this guy to come to class. I was totally wrong about this guy. And because he was really big, and he scared me a little bit. He was like, he was like bald and like big, like this way and this way, I mean, just, large. And, and I'd be like, hey, Rod. I mean, his name is Rod, And he was like the quiet, like strong type, So he's really cool, and I got to know him. He came to my class, and I was teaching on prayer and meditation and then using a mantra as you pray. And so one of the first classes we talked about using the word peace as a mantra. You know, just peace. Like you say it like this, peace, you know. Peace. Peace. And so I didn't know it, but Rod took that message and he took it into his job. And he actually worked at a trucking company. Have you guys heard of Trans Am trucking company? You've seen those big 18-wheelers and stuff? That's where he worked, and he was a manager there. And he didn't say anything to anybody at work. And on his breaks, what he would do, he would eat his lunch at his desk and everything. On his breaks, he would sit in his office and he would meditate on the word peace. That was it. Nobody heard him. Nobody knew. And then this has been like, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks or something that he was doing it. And this guy comes in, driving a truck. He'd been driving all day. And Rod worked all kinds of crazy hours. And this guy comes in and he jumps down out of his truck, you know, and he goes, "Oh, man, I got to tell you something." And Rod goes, "What is it?" He goes, "You know, this is going to sound weird, but every time I get out of my truck, man, this place feels like peaceful." And Rod comes up to me and goes, "Can you believe that?" I said, "Oh, I believe it. I believe it, brother. I believe it." And then, so of course he kept doing that work, you know. I didn't say last service, but he did end up getting promoted. I mean, why not? Why wouldn't he? He had totally improved the work environment. His wife, by the way, just became a Unity minister. Yeah, they're a wonderful couple, a married couple, kids, and just a wonderful, wonderful family. What a blessing to me. Right? So whatever thing you do, I gave that story because sometimes we think, oh, well, that's good for those people with spiritual jobs. That's good for you, Alice, but, you know, I actually work for a living, you know. I'm saying if it can work in a trucking company, it can work anywhere. He changed the whole feeling tone of his life. His wife starts ministerial school. Now she's a Unity minister. We even talked about her possibly mentoring here. We couldn't quite work it out with the kids and everything, but I just stayed connected with him. A wonderful, wonderful family. So they began living from their soul. And both of them became so embodied with the truth, everything in life began to change. So that's my hope for each one of us, is that we live our lives like the things grow out here outside. You know, that grass out there is so beautiful. Nobody has to tell it to grow. It just knows what to do. It doesn't say, you know, that grass over there is a little greener than me. And you know what? It's a lot greener, as a matter of fact. And I think it's got more water than I did, too. It must be why it's growing so much more. And my mother didn't water me like its mother did. You know? And here I am over in this patch, and nobody even notices me. But here, this green over here is so, you know, green. No, the grass grows because it's its purpose. Because its life is praise to God itself. Everything. If you don't know God, go out and look in the garden. You will see God. And it comes in all weird shapes and sizes, and it just grows because it's its purpose. And look how everything is provided for it to grow. The sun, the rain, so perfectly. I mean, look at the weather here. It couldn't be any better. But things at my house are going crazy. I've got like 50 roses in the back that are just going, it's just incredible. That's why every Sunday we give you a rose that symbolizes your soul. That's how we are to grow. That's how we are to mature, because it's our nature to do so. What we have to do is get the old stuff out of the way to create the environment to grow. Right? Today I live for my soul. Will you say that with me? Today I live for my soul. So I embody the Christ Spirit. I embody the holiness that I am. So now in our time of meditation, let's go inward as we remember the truth of who we are. I invite you to put your attention just right in your heart and just breathe for a moment. Just breathe for a moment. As we pray and meditate, God, we do so to connect with you, to connect with the God of our being, to know how to live from a place of truth, from a place of love. Thank you, God. We're souls on a journey that are willing to learn and grow in consciousness, and our prayer is to embody the truth that we know. Our prayer is to live our lives in total praise to you. So I'm going to give you some new thoughts of empowerment now. And if your ego resists this, just set that argument aside for now. If you want to have your baggage back in a minute, you can. But right now, just give your total attention to God. Keep your attention right in your heart. And as I say these words, if it's comfortable for you, just quietly repeat them to yourself. I am good. I am holy. I am loved. I am a soul. I am a master. Remember that we become our thoughts, and the thoughts we think most often are what become true. I am good. I am loved. I am a soul. I am a master. I am a master. I am a master. I am good. I am loved. I am a soul. I am a master. Just rest in that quiet place now and repeat some of these thoughts to yourself, remembering that these are your true nature. This is who you really are.